My wife's long-term extramarital affair with my friend was brought to an abrupt end when I discovered her infidelity. I discovered my wife's infidelity by accessing and publishing her secret communications. These messages revealed that she had been unfaithful to me with a male acquaintance of mine, whom she had referred to as Jack for the purposes of this account. To provide some context, I initially met my wife when I was 22 years old. She was a close friend of the bride at a wedding I attended with my then-girlfriend, who was the groom's best man. Our seating arrangement was designed to facilitate interaction between us. Upon first seeing my wife, I was immediately struck by her beauty. I recall feeling a profound sense of disbelief and disorientation. I was astonished by her beauty. When she sat down and began to converse, we discovered numerous mutual interests. We immediately established a rapport, conversed for some time, and proceeded to the dance floor. We danced and consumed alcohol throughout the night. We eventually engaged in a kiss on the dance floor. When we separated, our acquaintances, the bride and groom, approached us and inquired about the nature of our interaction. The other individuals present were eager to facilitate a potential connection between us. We simply dismissed their suggestions and continued with our evening. We did not exchange contact information at the time, but approximately a week later, I received a text message from her, extending an invitation for me to accompany her on a social engagement. The bride provided me with her number, and I accepted the invitation. This led to the formation of a romantic relationship. The relationship was characterized by positive aspects, including a lack of significant disagreements and a general sense of compatibility. However, it also involved occasional minor disagreements, which were not particularly serious. After approximately 2 years of dating, I proposed marriage. We were married less than a year later. Our marriage lasted slightly more than a year. Just before our first anniversary, I experienced a sudden and profound shift in my perception of the relationship. She became increasingly guarded about her phone, girls' nights became more frequent, and our sex life almost ceased to exist. I had previously raised this issue on numerous occasions, but my concerns were dismissed, and I was told that I was letting my insecurities affect my judgment. She continued to behave as though my feelings and attempts to communicate were insignificant, which led me to become increasingly detached. I ceased greeting her with a kiss before leaving for work and spoke to her infrequently, unless it was something of importance. While she slept, I took possession of her phone and laptop and reviewed her text messages, emails, and messenger apps. I found no evidence of wrongdoing. I then checked her car and discovered a second phone. At that moment, I understood the situation, but I wanted to gather all the evidence before confronting her. I did not want her to deny the truth. I was under the impression that such an occurrence was relatively uncommon. Upon examining the phone, I discovered a single contact number. I then proceeded to review the messages on the phone, connecting it to my computer to print them out. I spent the remainder of the night researching divorce lawyers. I spent several hours in my home office reading biographies of lawyers and found I selected one that I found appealing and sent him an email. However, as it was a Saturday, he was not in the office. I then sought to ascertain the identity of the individual in question. I retrieved my phone, entered the number I wished to call, and pretended to be Spectrum. This was a logical assumption, as the majority of individuals have access to Spectrum. Jack's contact information was displayed. It took me a moment to connect the dots, but once I did, I became enraged. I began shouting and using profanity. In my office, my wife opened the door to check on me. When she saw me, I informed her to get the F*** out. She closed the door and went to our room. I had never cursed at my wife or raised my voice above a normal volume all day. I left my office and began to silently rage, simply glaring at the wall. I called one of my friends from the wedding and informed him of the situation. I required an alcoholic beverage and inquired as to whether he would accompany me. He must have discerned something in my voice because he inquired as to my well-being. I informed him that I was not and that I required an alcoholic beverage. Without further ado, I collected the printouts and departed for the bar. I arrived first and ordered 4 shots of Jack and a beer. I was on my last shot when my friend called him Ted arrived. I inquired as to the current situation. I informed him that Mia was engaging in infidelity. He expressed sympathy, and I inquired as to the identity of the individual with whom she was involved. I indicated that it was Jack. He became visibly disconcerted. He was the individual who had introduced me to Jack. His response was merely an expression of regret. Jack and I had never been particularly close. We did not frequently request one another's company. However, if we encountered each other, we would interact cordially. At a social gathering, I had a cordial interaction with Ted. I informed him that I had recently discovered this information and that I had not yet consulted with Mia or a legal counsel. I requested that he refrain from disclosing this information to his spouse and, in the event that she inquired about my well-being, to respond that I was facing challenges at work. He consented to this arrangement and we engaged in conversation for the majority of the evening. Subsequently, I arranged for an Uber and proceeded to return home at approximately 3 a.m. Upon returning home, I discovered a multitude of missed calls and text messages from Mia. The messages inquired about my whereabouts and well-being. I proceeded to my bedroom and retired for the night. The following morning, I awoke to find Mia already awake. I then proceeded to my office and devoted the day to work. I returned home at approximately 10 p.m. I was surprised to find my wife waiting for me. She informed me that she had prepared dinner for me. I declined her offer to heat it up and went to bed. My wife followed shortly after, inquiring about my recent behavior. I requested that she leave me alone and that I needed to sleep. She persisted, and I eventually lost my composure. I requested that she cease her vocalizations, indicating that I was attempting to sleep. The following morning, I received an email from the lawyer requesting a meeting later in the day, which I confirmed and prepared for the day ahead. I proceeded downstairs to leave, only to find Mia had prepared breakfast and requested a conversation. I made a small plate and sat down. She began by stating, "I've been." She stated that I have been acting differently and going on and on about how I have changed. She inquired as to why I informed her that work has been stressful and that it would soon be over. I concluded the conversation and informed her that I had to leave. I proceeded to my office and began counting down the minutes until I was scheduled to meet with the lawyer. Upon my departure, I informed my assistant that I was going out to I had lunch with a client. My wife would have described this as my work, and I subsequently met with the lawyer. The meeting was productive, and I provided the lawyer with all the information I had gathered. The lawyer expressed regret for the situation but was grateful for the data I had collected. Given that we live in an at-fault state, your wife, he informed me that she has no claim on most of your money. I informed him that I had not considered that possibility. I was simply thinking that I needed to divorce her as soon as possible. He requested to retain the evidence, but I advised him that I would prefer for him to simply make copies, as I had not yet informed my wife of this information, and I did not want to hear her excuses. He agreed to this proposal. I requested that his assistant make copies. I inquired as to the estimated time frame for the commencement of legal proceedings. He informed me that this would occur in approximately 2 weeks. I expressed my gratitude and subsequently departed. I proceeded to my residence to confront my wife. Upon arrival, she was not present. I attempted to contact her via telephone, but there was no response. I subsequently called again, but again there was no answer. I sent her a text message, stating, "I am indifferent to your current activities. Return home immediately." It became apparent that a discussion was necessary. She promptly called me, inquiring about the nature of my conversation. I informed her that she should return home immediately. She arrived approximately 15 minutes later, and I commented on the length of time it had taken her to get there. She appeared perplexed, and I proceeded to give her a. She took a moment to compose herself, but her gaze remained fixed on me. I acknowledged her presence with a simple, "Well," and she attempted to deny and discredit my statements. I allowed her to continue, and she gradually became more agitated, launching a series of insults. I abruptly raised my hand to silence her and proceeded to present the evidence, initially displaying it from the side. I then proceeded to present her with a comprehensive collection of evidence, which she was initially reluctant to acknowledge. However, as I continued to display each printout, she eventually requested that I cease, and began to express her emotions through tears. She attempted to offer an apology and reassert her affection, but I was unmoved. I asked her to clarify the sudden shift in her demeanor, which seemed to contradict her previous assertions. A minute ago, she attempted to hang me and express remorse. I extended my hand and informed her that I did not wish to be touched. She then suggested that we proceed to the bedroom and engage in sexual intercourse at her discretion. I gazed deeply into her eyes and reassured her that I would never again violate her physically or emotionally. I then inquired as to whether she was aware of the existence of other individuals in possession of the photographs and messages in question. I informed my lawyer that I was divorcing my spouse. I instructed her to gather her belongings and leave my residence. This directive was issued 3 days ago, and I have not received any communication from her since. I apologize for the length of this message and for any grammatical errors. I am interested in learning from those who have been in a similar situation what to expect from here. Thank you for reading. I will provide an update shortly. 1. After posting the initial segment of this narrative, I received a plethora of counsel from this esteemed community. I have endeavored to implement the majority of these suggestions. This morning, I plan to undertake a course of action designed to mitigate the adverse effects of my recent actions. Consequently, I scheduled an appointment with my physician to ascertain whether I am infected with any sexually transmitted diseases. This appointment is scheduled for 2 days hence. 2. I have also initiated contact with I have also sought counsel from individuals in my immediate circle, including my father and a few friends. They have been remarkably supportive, offering their own advice and inquiring about my needs. However, as I began to navigate the complexities of this situation, I politely declined their assistance. Subsequently, I reached out to her family, extending my gratitude to her parents for welcoming me into their fold. I informed them that I was grateful for all that they had done for me, but that Mia and I are getting divorced and that I would miss them terribly. I elaborated that while they were very suffocating, I was happy I no longer had to deal with it. I then told them that if they had any questions, they were welcome to ask, but I did not hear back from them. I did not receive a response from them for a period of time, so I proceeded to contact Mia's sister. This was a challenging decision because her sister and I had developed a close friendship, and I was concerned that this news might negatively impact our relationship. I sent her a text message, expressing my regret for having to share this information with her. I informed her that Mia and I were planning to divorce and expressed my gratitude for her support. On the first day, I was accepted as a brother. I will be available if you require my assistance at any time. Following the transmission of the aforementioned text, her parents responded. I will provide a detailed account of the subsequent conversation. Parents, we are deeply saddened by this turn of events. Could you please elucidate the circumstances surrounding it? Mia has been in this situation for at least a year. It is evident that the affair commenced prior to the nuptials. The reason for her reticence is unclear, but it would be prudent to contact her. She vacated the marital residence, and it was assumed that she would seek solace with her in-laws. However, there has been no word from her. We have not received any communication from her. We will endeavor to reach out to her. We are grateful for the information. Are you certain that she was engaged in an illicit relationship? I am convinced of her infidelity. I discovered their correspondence. We express our profound regret at her actions. We will endeavor to communicate with her. After addressing the matter with her family, I proceeded to contact Jack's fiancée. I am unsure if I previously informed you that he is engaged. I believe this was discussed in some of the comments. I anticipated that resolving this situation would be challenging, given the possibility that Mia and Jack had devised a complex plan. However, it seems that either Mia did not inform them or they are lacking in critical thinking skills. I sent her a text message at approximately 2 p.m. I inquired as to the possibility of meeting for coffee at 2:05 p.m. She consented and suggested that I meet her at a coffee shop popular with the younger demographic, situated across from her workplace. I arrived first, ordered my coffee, and waited for a few minutes. She arrived and ordered hers, then joined me. I informed her that there was no easy way to tell her what I knew, so I would tell her directly. I told her that Jack had been cheating on her with my wife. This had been going on for over a year. She was visibly taken aback. I then informed her that I had only become aware of the situation a few days prior. I acknowledged that I should have disclosed this information sooner, but I was preoccupied with initiating the divorce proceedings. She inquired about the source of this information. I provided a comprehensive account of the events detailed in my initial post. I then inquired as to her desired course of action. I then produced a binder containing the evidence I had gathered. She took the binder and perused the messages and images. She began to weep silently. I informed her that she was welcome to take copies of the binder should she wish to confront Jack with it or use it to ascertain whether he would. She thanked me, stood up, took the binder, and I informed her that if she required any further assistance, she should not hesitate to contact me. She nodded her head in acknowledgement and departed, appearing to be in a state of emotional distress. I was advised to remain calm and avoid any impulsive actions, yet I found myself overwhelmed by a sudden surge of intense emotions. I intend to spend this week on my back porch, engaging in leisure activities such as drinking, smoking cigars, and listening to music. After this week, I will cease to feel sorry for myself and resume my usual schedule with a more positive outlook. I have already packed up the majority of her belongings, including clothing, jewelry, and other personal items. Additionally, I included our wedding book and the photograph of her that is included in the boxes, which will be sent to her when she returns for her belongings. I do not wish for her to remain in my residence for any longer than is necessary. In response to the question of whether I damaged her clothing, I can confirm that I did not cause any significant damage, apart from a few picture frames. There are no broken items at present. I have informed all relevant parties. I felt compelled to inform my doctor of my upcoming appointment, to update my lawyer on the current status of the proceedings, and to share the news that 90% of her belongings have been placed in boxes. I am unsure of the remaining items that she has not yet removed. Should she refrain from further interference, this divorce may proceed with minimal disruption. I am grateful for your attention and welcome any advice you may have to offer. I would like to express my gratitude for your continued interest and support. I apologize for my recent absence and neglect of communication. I have been preoccupied with personal matters and have not been as active as I would have liked. Since the last update, I have been engaged in self-reflection and coping mechanisms, which have involved a significant intake of alcohol. I am currently in a state of introspection and emotional distress. This is the first time I have engaged in such behaviors since the initial disclosure of the situation. In light of the recent developments, I have experienced a period of sobriety during which I have been unable to articulate my emotions. I would describe my current state as one of numbness. In my previous update, I informed you all of the developments and that I had notified my sister, with whom I was very close, but she was the only one who did not respond. On the night in question, I continued my drinking binge after posting the update and passed out on my back. I awoke to the sound of breakfast being prepared on the patio, surrounded by a bottle and several empty beer cans. My initial reaction was one of disbelief, as though I had imagined the return of my sister, Mia, who I believed had come to atone for her actions. I became enraged and threw myself out of the chair, prepared for a confrontation. However, to my surprise, it was my sister, Emma, who had come to my aid. I stood there for a moment, attempting to calm myself. When Emma saw that I was awake, she ran to me and embraced me. She did not speak to me, she simply took my hand and led me to the table, placing a plate in front of me as I ate. She then informed me of her regret and explained that her sister had arrived at her house and simply stated that we were having. She informed me that when I texted her that we were divorcing, she asked Mia if it would be fine. "Why is he divorcing you?" Apparently, Mia just broke down and told Emma everything. I expressed skepticism and suggested that there's no way she told you everything. I proceeded to tell her all that happened. Emma relayed that Mia had said it was a one-time thing. I informed Emma that I had no intention of reconciling with Mia and that her presence was unproductive. If her objective was to facilitate a reunion, she was wasting her time. Furthermore, if she was in contact with Mia, she needed to advise her to seek legal counsel. She responded by stating that her purpose was not to support her sister but to assist me. She informed me that, of course, she would be there for my sister, but that she and I are friends and that she would not abandon me, especially when I had done nothing wrong. I stood up and went to her side of the table and embraced her. I was concerned that the ongoing situation might negatively impact our friendship. Her words reassured me. Emma's presence provided a sense of reassurance. She remained with me for 2 days in the guest bedroom and departed this morning as I prepared to leave for my cabin. Prior to the marriage, I maintained control of this aspect of my life. Mia is unable to influence it. I was gathering my hunting and fishing equipment. She inquired if she could join me, but I advised her that, although I would have liked for her to do so, she should probably check on her own. Emma's sister concurred, embraced me, and departed. I am profoundly grateful to Emma for her support. Before any of you suggest that she is interested in me, I must clarify that she is not. She is 20 years old, which is considerably younger than me. Our relationship is purely platonic. I nearly neglected to mention that I visited a physician and underwent testing. The results should be available on Monday. I contacted Jack's fiancée on several occasions to ascertain her well-being. She informed me that she was coping well but was unsure of her future. I suggested that if she wished to discuss her situation further, I would be available to listen at any time next week. I am grateful for the opportunity to offer support and am thankful for the positive feedback I have received. This is a profoundly challenging period in my life, and I recognize that many of you may be experiencing similar difficulties. I can only offer my experience as a suggestion, but I have found it helpful to maintain a sense of stability and focus on my goals. In my case, I sought legal counsel and then medical attention. I also made a point of notifying my immediate circle of friends and family. I would advise against sharing such personal information on the internet, however, and instead set aside time for reflection. To express one's emotions, I would like to express my gratitude once more and offer my apologies for the length of these updates. In my previous post, I informed you all about Emma's visit to my residence, which lasted several days. She departed when I was preparing to embark on a hunting excursion at my cabin. I am pleased to share that I successfully hunted a buck, an impressive 8-point deer, on my first day in the field. I am gratified by this outcome, as it afforded me the opportunity to pursue my preferred pastime of fishing during the remaining portion of my visit. While I only managed to land 2 fish, they were of a respectable size, and I proceeded to prepare one for consumption and butcher the other. The remainder of my time at the cabin was dedicated to the task of cleaning and preparing my deer, while also taking in the surrounding natural scenery. I abstained from alcohol for the duration of my stay, in accordance with my commitment to sobriety. I have now reached the final days of my recent period of abstinence. I received a call from my physician, who informed me that I am now free of all substances. This was not entirely unexpected, given that I have not engaged in any particularly passionate encounters with my partner in several months. Nevertheless, it is always prudent to proceed with caution. I contacted Jack's fiancée, but did not receive a response for some time. Eventually, she replied, stating she is currently residing with her family. She did not elaborate on the circumstances, but it can be assumed that her staying with her family indicates that the situation is not going well. At least she is with family, safe, and has the support she requires. I informed her that if there is anything I can do, she should simply reach out. She requested a meeting the following day, which I agreed to. We met at the same establishment that serves coffee and other beverages, and conversed for approximately 2 hours. We discussed a range of topics related to the situation with Mia. She inquired about my plans, specifically whether I intended to divorce her or if there was a possibility of reconciliation. I informed her that, in my opinion, infidelity is grounds for immediate termination of the relationship. The level of selfishness and disrespect involved in cheating, particularly when it persists for an entire year, is unacceptable. She expressed that she did not feel cared for by me. I inquired about her future plans. She stated that she is uncertain about her next steps, as she feels confused about the truth and the lies she has encountered. The next step is to determine whether she should move on or forgive him. I informed her that if she could forgive someone for cheating on her for that length of time, she is a more forgiving person than I am. She stated that her entire family was urging her to forgive him and move on to marry another. I told her that I would be frank with her. He then stated that just because it is what one's family wants does not mean that one needs to comply. He then said, "Jack obviously does not care about marriage and what it all means. He cheated on you, his fiancée, with my wife. If that does not show you that he is not marriage material, I am unsure what would." I told her that she needed to do what she thought was right and not to have anyone other than herself make decisions that will affect her life? I informed her that, upon learning of the situation, I was unable to reconcile my feelings and therefore could not accept the circumstances. I also stated that I had only consulted with one individual, yet I had already made my decision. One could alter my perspective. When you visited your family, I assume you had a clear understanding of your intentions. However, you engaged in discussions with numerous individuals, who offered their unique interpretations. I concluded by suggesting that she should prioritize her instincts, as her intellect and emotions may not always align. If her instincts indicate unease, there is a high probability that she is correct. She thanked me and we parted ways. The following day, I received a message from my legal counsel indicating that Mia had been duly served. At the office, I expressed gratitude for his efforts, particularly given the time constraints he had faced. Soon after, Emma contacted me to inform me that Mia had not left her room all day and was visibly distressed. I informed her that she had been served and was likely coming to terms with the gravity of her actions. He inquired about my experience at the cabin and whether I had obtained any items. I informed him of my actions and how I spent my time there. We conversed briefly and terminated the call after I had prepared myself and my residence for my wife's anticipated outburst. I reasoned that, if she were to do so, it would likely be soon, now that she had been served. Given that I have been served, I am currently awaiting further developments with patience and fortitude. I have procured Advil in anticipation of potential discomfort. I have informed a friend, who has expressed willingness to act as a witness should the need arise. In the event of an unfavorable outcome, I am currently engaged in writing. In the event that Hurricane Mia were to cause significant damage to my residence, I will provide an additional update. I extend my gratitude to all those who have read my previous updates. Update 4 was published approximately an hour after Update 3. At that time, I was awaiting the arrival of Mia at my residence and preparing for a potentially hostile encounter. There was no clear rationale for her anticipated behavior. In light of the preceding events, I was compelled to ascertain the functionality of the cameras I had installed, both inside and outside the premises. I contacted my acquaintance to inform him of the legal proceedings initiated against me and requested his immediate assistance in the event of Mia's appearance. As anticipated, Mia did indeed arrive at my residence, demanding entry through forceful means. I promptly contacted my associate and Emma, requesting their urgent presence. My door, she was cursing my name, begging me to let her in, calling me every name in the book, and how I could be so heartless. She was not wrong because the entire time she was screaming and banging on the door, all I could do was laugh. I then wondered why she did not just walk away. She still had keys, at least to my knowledge. When my friend showed up, she was still screaming and cursing, so he started to record on his phone and stayed in his truck. However, this individual brought his wife with him. Mia's friend got out and tried to calm her down. He approached Mia, attempting to calm her down by embracing her and engaging in conversation. However, she responded by slapping him across the face and verbally accosting him, demanding that he refrain from interfering in her personal affairs. This prompted his friend, who had recorded the incident on video, to contact the authorities. Mia persisted in her outbursts and profanity until the police arrived. At that point, she attempted to portray herself as the victim, claiming that she had been physically assaulted by him and subsequently removed from the premises. The officer was unable to ascertain whether I was indeed the perpetrator of the alleged crime, as I was still engaged in a heated exchange with Mia at the time. After concluding his conversation with my friend and his wife, the officer proceeded to my residence. Upon opening the door, Mia immediately accused me of the crime and demanded my arrest. The officer attempted to place me in handcuffs, but I informed him that I could prove Mia's allegations were false with the help of my phone. The officer then instructed me to present the footage from the external cameras. After reviewing the video, the officer expressed regret for hastily concluding that I was the culprit. I informed the officer that I did not hold him responsible for his actions. However, he then informed me that they had received 15 calls from my neighbors. It appeared that during Mia's outburst, she had screamed that he had hit her. Consequently, the officers had already formed their opinion after having to deal with the situation for approximately half an hour. Mia was subsequently placed in handcuffs and charged with disturbing the peace, public intoxication, and driving under the influence. As the police took me into the vehicle, Emma arrived and approached me, inquiring about the events that had transpired. I then showed her the video on my phone, which documented the entire incident. The officer then arrived on the scene. It was then my responsibility to obtain the case number and other relevant documentation. Emma began to inquire about the charges, so I returned indoors. Emma followed shortly afterwards and sat next to me. She informed me that she had left her residence for approximately 10 minutes to purchase items from a nearby store. Upon her return, she discovered that Mia was no longer in the living room, leading her to conclude that Mia had retired for the night after consuming an excessive amount of wine. Emma and I conversed for a considerable period, during which she inquired as to whether she could remain overnight. I granted her permission, noting that Mia would be spending the night in jail. The rationale behind this decision remains unclear. However, she indicated that she could be released the following morning. When I returned to the residence, she informed me that she had contacted her parents to notify them of the situation and inquire about their ability to secure her release, given their limited financial resources. We proceeded to consume a beer together and subsequently retired for the evening. Upon waking the following morning, I discovered that Emma had already departed to meet with her parents. Despite my efforts, I have not been able to establish communication with either Emma or her parents regarding the incident. Update 5. I have not received any updates from Mia since that night. However, my legal counsel was contacted by hers, notifying him of his impending appearance in court. At last, we can commence this process, as I have now been able to represent Mia. In addition, I have contacted Jack's fiancée to ascertain whether she has any information to share. Despite our brief exchange of messages, she informed me that she had asked him to leave her residence and that her father and brother had collected his belongings and delivered them to his house. She stated that her father and brother had expressed a desire to assault him, but she had asked them not to do so. She expressed her desire to put the incident behind her and move on. She expressed gratitude for my efforts to check on her and informed me that her close friends are available to provide support when needed. I provided her with the link to my Reddit page, which illustrates the extent of the support you have extended to me and to her. On Friday, as soon as I finished work, I hastened home. My intention was to return to my cabin for the weekend. When I arrived, I discovered that Emo was in my driveway. She wished to collect her sister's belongings and I perused the list of items my wife expected and noted that nearly all of them were already in boxes or situated in my garage, awaiting pickup. I informed her that I would not be responsible for any items within this list, as I would not be transporting or handling them. I also emphasized that I would not be held liable if Mia attempted to claim that I had damaged her belongings. I informed her that I would pay for a moving company to pack and transport her belongings, as I was currently unavailable to assist with the task. She expressed gratitude and optimism about the arrangement. She proceeded to collect a box of Mia's clothes and departed. She then proceeded to place the aforementioned box of items in her vehicle. I inquired as to whether she would like to accompany me on my excursion. She expressed her desire to do so. I informed her that she was welcome to do so. I then proceeded to my residence to retrieve items from my domicile and load them into my vehicle. By the time I had completed this task, she had already arrived at my residence. I secured my residence and departed for my destination. I proceeded to the cabin with Emma. The weekend proved to be highly satisfactory. During my previous visit, I came to appreciate the cabin's exceptional qualities. It boasts a breathtaking view and complete seclusion, allowing for undisturbed relaxation. On Monday, I contacted a moving company and, by Tuesday, 3 professionals arrived in a large vehicle and commenced loading. I opened and recorded each box, and they closed and loaded it. I also photographed all the furniture and recorded it being loaded. I thanked them for their patience and cooperation. I provided them with an additional $50 in gratuity. I then forwarded all the recordings and images to my legal counsel and proceeded with my day. The residence appears to be devoid of personal items, yet tidy. At the outset of this process, my legal counsel advised me to retain items that could be considered shared. Consequently, I placed the majority of the furnishings in a storage facility. I have been residing in the guest room since her departure. Up until the writing of this account, I have been procuring new furnishings. I intend to retain the majority of these items in the garage, now that they have been delivered. The residence in question will not be retained by me, even if I am victorious in the divorce proceedings. It evokes too many unpleasant recollections. I appreciate your attention. This is an update on the status of the proceedings. It has been a considerable period since I have submitted a report. I am engaged in coaching high school baseball, and in addition to navigating the divorce and my imminent separation from my spouse, I am also responsible for training the young athletes. Consequently, I currently have limited leisure time. There have been several developments, and this may be a lengthy report. I kindly request your patience. A few days after the removal company transported her belongings to Mia, I received legal documentation indicating that I had damaged her personal effects and demanding that I pay her $1. The other party has demanded $500 or she will initiate legal proceedings. My legal counsel has provided all the relevant visual evidence, including videos and photographs, to substantiate the alleged damages. He has informed me that this will demonstrate to the judge the extent of her emotional involvement in the matter. While this may initially present a challenge, it will ultimately prove beneficial when the court proceedings commence. I believe that my lawyer's adversary was unprepared for the meticulous nature of my evidence gathering and documentation. Upon discovering my wife's infidelity, I was compelled to examine the numerous accounts of abuse and mistreatment experienced by individuals in similar situations. I was particularly struck by the sheer range of tactics employed by their former spouses. I was prepared for any eventuality and any accusation that she might make. I had considered the possibility that she might engage in any form of deceitful behavior. Mia had been calling me approximately every other day, but I did not respond to her voicemails. Instead, I forwarded them to my lawyer. Upon sending my lawyer any given material, he always remarks, "You are a lawyer's ideal client. You listen to everything I say, and you have gathered a substantial amount of evidence on your own." I have yet to have a client that has done so well. He does not exaggerate when he makes this remark, but it also elicits a positive emotional response from me each time I hear it. It provides me with the assurance that I am taking the appropriate legal steps. I am confident that I am acting in the best interests of all parties involved. Approximately 2 to 3 weeks ago, my legal counsel informed me that we have sufficient evidence to proceed with a settlement outside of court. In the event that this is unsuccessful, it would be advantageous to have attempted to reach a resolution. Consequently, we scheduled a meeting in a neutral lawyer's office a week ago. However, prior to this, my legal representative advised me against attending. It is imperative that you refrain from reacting to any statements made by Mia. Any actions you take will be recorded and presented to the judge, should the case proceed to court. Upon arrival at the appointed time, we proceeded to the office, where we were met by Mia and her legal counsel. We proceeded inside, and the lawyers exchanged greetings. Mia and I sat silently, awaiting the proceedings to commence. Mia's lawyer commenced proceedings by querying the financial settlement we were prepared to offer. My own counsel responded with a dismissive gesture, stating that, given the overwhelming evidence of infidelity and inappropriate behavior on the part of Mia, our only proposition was a sum equivalent to half the sale price of the property and half the value of the savings account. This was, he asserted, more than any judge would award in such circumstances. The marriage will be terminated, and you will be leaving with him. He then looked directly at Mia and said, "If you decide to go to court, I will present every message that has prompted you to read it aloud. Furthermore, I will present every photograph for all to see." However, at that time, I did not say that I would present the following evidence: "I will bring up your recent charges and play the video that was taken that night." Mia was shown the video taken that night, which prompted her to begin to weep. She inquired as to whether there was anything she could do to rectify the situation. I informed her that she had been unfaithful to me since before our wedding. I could only prove a few weeks of infidelity, but I believe the duration was much longer. I told her that there was nothing she could do to make the situation better. She requested that I either forget or forgive her for her actions. She then proceeded to sign the relevant documents, which she felt were more than sufficient compensation for her misdeeds. She then expressed her desire to put this matter behind her and move on. She proceeded to shed tears for approximately 15 minutes, during which she excused herself to the restroom. Upon her return, she was still in a state of distress, but she proceeded to sign the documents and subsequently departed the premises. The matter will be filed, and I will have no further obligations. I would like to express my gratitude to all those who have read my account and provided advice. I do not anticipate any further developments, but I may be mistaken. Should that occur, I will inform you. This will likely be my final communication, so I would like to thank you once more. I hope that my experience has been beneficial to at least one individual.